Hello and welcome to another episode of Cascadian Mountain Weather. It's Thursday, May 16th, 2024. And to start out, Wyatt's going to talk a little bit about the Aurora that just happened last weekend, and hopefully a lot of you guys got to see it.
Yeah. It was pretty amazing. It happened mostly on Friday night. There was a little bit of Saturday night as well. And this was about the most impressive, strongest Aurora we've seen in the last 20 years. Honestly, maybe even a little bit longer. It was, you could see colors. And the most unique thing about it is that it was directly overhead. Generally, when we see the Northern Lights in Washington in the Pacific Northwest, we'll see them on the horizon. They might be moving relatively slowly. And so that would mean that maybe they're up further to the north. But this is a satellite image of the Northern Lights on Friday. And we even saw it slightly further extends down to kind of in almost above Oregon during parts of it later in the evening or earlier in the morning on Saturday morning. Um, but just a really, really unique experience. We are approaching solar maximum, so there's a chance that we'll see something maybe not quite this good. There is a chance we'll see something like this again, but it all is kind of a roll of the dice, and it depends on how conditions align. Of course, this was perfect because there was almost no moon. And we had clear skies, and it was still enough darkness to really enjoy the show. Like if this had happened a month later, then we would have had quite a few hours less of darkness to see it. So really, really awesome, and hoping that as we move through 2024 and even 2025, we have more opportunities to see stuff like this. Going into some kind of current conditions out on the ground right now. This is a map of estimated snow depth across the state. We've shown this quite often on this channel. And I just want to highlight we're starting to get into that time of spring where we really start seeing the retreat, kind of this spring spiderweb like pattern, where especially on the west side we see these spots where there's not a lot of terrain up above 5 or 6,000 feet, really starting to lose its snow. On the east side, we still have decent snow depths up towards like the Poseidon and stuff like that. But if we get warmer days, that will all kind of disappear at once as well, going forward. And then you can see, obviously, in the North Cascades, quite a lot of snow, but there's also a word of caution. So this is looking down in kind of the Tianoi area. We have the enchantments up here. Here's the Tianoi. This suggests that snow depth might be in kind of the 40 to maybe even 60 inches. But if we look at the satellite image from about a week ago now, last Saturday, we can see that there's definitely, it just doesn't capture the granularity. This satellite does, and this map doesn't. And so you can see that the entire valley is melted out. There's definitely patches where there's no snow, and then patches where there might be a couple feet of snow. So just be aware of that as you're going out. And if you're using either of these maps, especially this one, that it's definitely just a general estimation.
So now we're going to look at how the snowpack is faring. And this is the time of year where percentages don't often make a lot of sense because, if an area melts out a week before normal, you could theoretically be at a point where you're at 0% of typical snowpack. So instead, we're going to look at it more of like how many weeks ahead of typical meltout we are in different places. So this is the snowtail site for Elbow Lake, which is around 4,000 feet or so in the Mount Baker area. And this year, it's pretty variable. It's the black line down there. It was pretty variable snowpack in general versus the green line, which is more typical. And last year's snowpack, which really like climbed until far later than the peak, typically like almost the beginning of May, and then declined very quickly because May was hot. And you see that Elbow Lake this year only melted out really a week or 2 weeks earlier than last year, and only maybe 2 to 3 weeks earlier than normal, despite the fact it never had accumulated that much snow. Here's another area, Fish Lake. This is kind of, again, 3,000 to 4,000 feet, Stevens Pass area. And again, like last year had a much faster meltout. This year started declining relatively early because it was low elevation, but ultimately didn't really end up at much earlier of a meltout than last year. Now let's take a look at some of the higher elevations. So this is Stevens Pass, which is 4K, and a similar story where The peak was not that high this year, but the meltout has been a little slower than normal. And for that reason, we're probably going to melt out about the same time as last year, which is impressive considering last year we got quite a bit more snow. And this is Easy Pass. So this is like one of the snowiest sites in Washington. It's up around 5,000 feet in the North Cascades. And again, we're only like at 60% of typical snowpack at peak, but we've actually continued to build snowpack at a time in early May when typically we're starting to lose snowpack. And because of that, we're actually almost caught up to last year. And with the upcoming cold period, we might actually go ahead of last year. So, we're still probably looking at, 3 weeks or so earlier meltout, but there's still a lot of time and, a lot of variability this spring.
Just before we get into the week's forecast or weekend forecast, I do want to highlight that we are starting to get into May. Last year, we saw some pretty early wildfire smoke. This was the week that we saw smoke coming in from Canada. And so it's just something that we'll start to watch and start to highlight on Cascadia Mountain weather as we go into the summer. And since we don't generally see that much kind of weather, honestly, during the weekends in the summer, this will be something that we can focus on and try to highlight parts that might be more or less smoky. Right now it looks clear, and we're going to have a big kind of push of Pacific moisture coming in this upcoming the next couple days, which will continue that clarity. And there aren't that many fires burning at the moment right now anyways. So this weekend, it's honestly one of those weekends that is kind of like plus minus. We're late enough into May now that we generally don't see like washouts or soakers. It's going to be like kind of showers and sun breaks. It looks like probably Sunday, late Sunday, and especially Monday are going to be the best days. Friday and Saturday are a little bit more questionable. Saturday is probably going to be the coolest day, especially down in the lowlands where we might see temperatures about 10 degrees below normal. And then we'll see showers on and off throughout the weekend. You can see this more going towards, that was the Euro model, and kind of one frame highlighting it. This is going to the GFS and showing pretty persistent showers, especially in the Cascades as we go through. This is in the evening Friday, and then going through early morning Saturday. I think you'll see more sun in the lowlands. As almost always in the mountains, it will generally be more cloudy. When you see kind of patterns like this where you see pop-up showers around, it generally means that there'll be quite a few clouds kind of clinging to those mountaintops. So just be aware of that as we go forward. And then it starts to clear out later on Sunday, and Monday should be a pretty nice day. In terms of total precipitation, we're going to see most of that precip, maybe half an inch to an inch in the highest amounts in the Cascades. It's going to be contained on the west side. So if you're thinking, you might go to the east side to escape any of that moisture, it should be mostly sunny on the east side. Of course, the thing to worry about on the east side is wind. And so today was quite windy, and there was quite a bit of blowing dust. I'm actually over in Idaho right now, and the skies kind of turned dark with dust as the winds picked up. And so as we move into Friday, we'll see another kind of big push of strong winds, not only on the east slopes, and I know this map is a little bit cluttered, but it's showing gusts in kind of 30, 40, maybe even 50 miles an hour on the east slopes, and also along the eastern crest, where it might even be kind of higher gust winds. So just be aware of that, and we'll also see kind of another pulse of strong winds later in the day on Saturday. And then Sunday should be relatively calm. In terms of snow levels were being like the 3 to 5,000 foot range for much of this weekend. This is starting at 5 p.m. Wednesday, so 5 p.m. yesterday. This is 5 p.m. Friday, so you can see that as we went into the day Thursday, our snow levels dropped, and they'll be in that kind of 4,000 foot range. This is for the North Cascades, but it's about there for most of the Cascades until we get later in the day on Sunday, when snow levels will rise again. That does mean that we'll see some snow this weekend, I don't think it's going to be a crazy amount, maybe up to 3, maybe 5 inches above 5,000 feet, which is about where the snow level has been the last couple times that we've seen snow or precipitation coming in. So just be aware of that, that some of that rain will be falling as snow, and it will be kind of a mix as at elevations, especially during the day where our days are long and this May sun is strong. So that means that we warm up quite a bit during the day.
Here's the spot forecast for Washington Pass. And you can see that, there's definitely a chance of precipitation both days, maybe a little less on Sunday. Temperatures are kind of moderate, like relative, I'd say a little on the cool side for this time of year. So I think the main takeaway is like, you can't expect really that much either way. Like there's going to be a lot of variability if you head out in the mountains this weekend. Monday is definitely the better day. This is Mount Rainier. So a lot of people are looking at, May, June is volcano season. But this really isn't a good weekend for the volcanoes. It's probably not going to precipitate that much. And there could be, even some sun on Sunday, like it says, partly sunny. But do notice that the winds are pretty high. So this is a 6,000 foot point forecast for 6,000 feet. And we're seeing winds gusting at 25, which means it's probably going to be like double that up high. So, maybe it's okay below 10K, but I can see the volcanoes be pretty nasty up high. So the 6 to 10 day temperature outlook is colder than normal and probably a little wetter than normal. That doesn't necessarily mean super wet. But we've kind of, after like a little heat wave, we've gone back into a cooler than normal period. So yesterday I took the day off and I went up on Mount Rainier, up close to the summit, and then skied down the south side. And we found decent skiing, but the thing that was definitely apparent to me is that the snowpack is still definitely transitioning. There were a lot of the snow got mushy quickly, and down low we found some really substantial wet slab avalanches, which is in the next photo here. So this avalanche ripped across like multiple terrain features. I heard it went the day before we were there. So, like when we have bouts of precipitation in the spring and then it warms up, it just shows you that you get really dynamic and sometimes unstable snow conditions. So we're, not to a spring snowpack yet, but we're heading in that direction, and it's important to like be cautious and keep your guard up until we're to that point. Finally, we'd like to thank everyone for who supports us on Patreon. So these people support us, and in return, they get weekly recreation recommendations on Thursday night. So we go in a little more detail about like different zones to expect and timing and activities. If that kind of thing interests you, we encourage you to check out our site at cascadiamountainweather.com. We also have included the link in our show notes. So thank you to everyone for watching, and we hope you have a great weekend.